In the midst of the ongoing Israel-Hamas war, countrywide protests continue on college campuses across the U.S.
Western Mass News reporter Reagan Lokri joins us live at UMass Amherst, another university that has seen their fair share of demonstrations. And Reagan, what are students saying there today?
Well, Abby and Chris, I spoke to one student who was arrested back in October during a pro-Palestinian sit-in here on campus, and he tells me seeing other universities participate in protests makes him feel inspired.
I think a lot of us share the same sentiment. It's really just awesome seeing this become like a national student movement, similar to something, we would have seen in like the 60s with Vietnam or something like that.
Meanwhile, in New York, dozens of pro-Palestinian protesters were arrested while demonstrating at New York University, as well as Columbia University and even Yale in Connecticut. We're told the New York Police Department made arrests in Greenwich Village after protesters defied orders by the school to leave the NYU campus by the Monday afternoon deadline. Now, both NYU and Columbia have moved to remote classes. In light of this, the University of Massachusetts Amherst provided us with a statement that reads, UMass Amherst has a strong commitment to the free exchange of ideas and the legally protected freedom of speech, including demonstrations. We also have strict time, place, and manner policies that ensure demonstrations neither disrupt nor pose a danger to campus activities, and the ability of our students, staff, faculty, and guests to safely conduct daily business. Now, coming up tonight at 6, I spoke with one of the organizers of the protests here on campus, who also went to the encampment protests at Columbia University, and he compares what it was like over in New York compared to the sit-ins here on campus. Reporting live in Amherst, Reagan Lokri for Western Mass News.